Hey everybody, welcome to another FireTEK video. In this video I want to take a closer look at the FTQ-16x64 module from FireTEK. So this is an upgraded version of the old FTH modules, which were 12 channel rails. This supports 16 channel rails on its output. So let's look at the physical construction. It's fairly lightweight, this. Let me get a pair of scales, let's actually weigh it. All right, here we go, I've got my wife's kitchen scales here. Let's turn that on, reset it. We don't want it in millilitres, do we? Let's do it in grams. There we go, okay, grams. Let's put this on here, see if it will stand on. Maybe it stand on this way. So 562 grams is the weight of here, so half a kilogram effectively. It's rugged, it's made of fiberglass, a fiberglass housing on all sides. Actually, the top and bottom have double layers of fiberglass there, and the sides are single layers. Now, why do I say it's rugged? Well, I have actually seen footage of this being driven over by a 4x4 and it stayed intact, so it's not something I'm going to try myself, but it feels pretty rugged. The panels on all four sides, and indeed the top and bottom panels, are removable. You need a little Allen key to open it up, but they are removable, so you can change them. If a panel gets damaged, you can change it out without having to swap out the whole module. It also allows you to have different configurations of the modules. This module I've got has the optional DMX output on it to allow you to control flame machines, stage lighting, things like that. Also on this end here, on my version, we've got the power button, USB-C port for charging and data, and an antenna. It works on 868 megahertz, but you can also get a dual option, which has a 2.4 gigahertz aerial as well. So you can swap this out and have a back panel that has two different aerial outputs. So I like the fact that this is kind of modular. You can interchange the panels to upgrade or replace bits as and when. So the labeling itself is nice. It's etched in. So it's not just printed on, it's actually etched in. So that should last, that shouldn't rub off. I've also seen footage of this being dropped from a height, from a ladder. And according to the specifications from the manufacturer, this is shock resistant from 1.5 meters or 5 foot. So if you drop this from a height of 1.5 meters, 5 foot, it should still be absolutely fine and still work. Again, not something I'm going to try myself, but as I say, I've seen footage of this being dropped from a ladder and still working, so. On the front panel, we've got a large LCD screen, 2.6 inch backlit LCD screen. We've got two recessed buttons, BWD backwards, FWD forwards. I like the fact that they're recessed so you can't kind of accidentally press them. They're pretty flush as well. They're recessed. They are, you can kind of see like that, they don't stick up. They're actually lower than the screws, so you can't inadvertently press those, which I like. This is also fire retardant, I am told. Again, not something I've tried. Apparently fire retardant for up to 10 minutes. But it also does come with an optional, this is a little case, a fireproof case that it can go in as well. So this can go in like here and then wrap around here. And so you can have the whole thing in a case here. You can access the front panel and the buttons via that, and then the panels on either side can be lifted up as well. So that's a nice little thing. It doesn't come with this as standard. This is an optional extra, but it's nice. You know, I use this when I use this system just to give it that extra protection from debris and fallout. So yes, it comes with an antenna. I must say my version is the 868 megahertz version, which screws on here like that. I would advise, I have done some testing with and without the antenna, because the information I had originally on this was it does have a built-in antenna as well. I'm not sure whether that's the case, because it doesn't work amazingly well without this antenna. So always put the antenna on. The other thing on this side is the USB port. I like that it's USB-C, and so this is what you use to recharge the module. For those of you who don't know, I'm probably skipping ahead actually. So what does a module actually do? So module provides power to the rails, and the rails is what the igniter connects to. So here's a FireTEK rail. You'll have seen this in one of my earlier videos on FireTEK. These rails all connect to the module via RJ45 connectors. Plug in there. So you can have 4 per module. Each one is 16 channels. So you have a total of 64 individual channels available per module. And that's where we get the 1664 from. So this is what actually provides power to the igniters to ignite your fireworks. This can take a script through the USB port and you can run it kind of standalone. This can also act as a master, so you've got multiple modules, you can have one as a master and the others as slaves and they'll all work together, or they can be used with a controller, and that tends to be the configuration that I use. These also mesh network with the controller or with other modules, which is quite a nice little feature. So it means you can have lots of these modules around and controllers and they will all talk to each other, and if one goes down, it doesn't bring your entire network down. I believe from the manufacturer that mesh networking in the FireTEK system will allow you to have all these modules spread across a total area of about 18 miles or 30 kilometers, and they will all talk and communicate with each other, which is quite nice. There's also an optional GPS add-on you can get available for these. I don't actually have it in my modules because I didn't think I needed it. But basically that will allow you to have modules even further apart, and you can synchronize them all to start a display at a specific GPS time, and they will all be in sync. And so the GPS option, I understand, improves accuracy from 10 milliseconds to 10 nanoseconds. So very, very precise. I don't need that kind of accuracy in the sort of shows I'm firing. But if you're doing shows across a really, really big site, you know, several miles wide, you know, along a river perhaps, something like that, and then the GPS option would certainly be a good way of keeping everything perfectly in sync. There are other options you can get on this back plate. As I mentioned earlier, you can get the second antenna for the 2.4 gigahertz. You can also get a 2-wire output. You can get an RCA time code jack. There's also the option to replace the power button with a key switch. So a number of different module configurations available. And I say quite easy to upgrade. You can take this panel off, put another panel on with those different features in. This module has the ability to fire both E-matches and talons. By default, it comes in E-match mode, but you can, through a configuration file, change it to fire talons. And when you put it in talon mode, then each channel will fire with a 2-second pulse to ensure that the talons fire. But there is a new version of firmware available for this, which I'll cover in another video, which actually allows you to set per channel whether you've got an E-match or talon connected, which is quite exciting. But that's for another video. Other options, you can get a little small remote control for this, either a 2-button or 4-button, which works on 433 megahertz, and that can be used to fire your show, pause your show, or indeed for crew control. So you can have spotters at different parts of your site and they can, if necessary, pause certain modules during the show. In terms of power, inside here there is a 3.7 volt 2800 milliamp LiPo battery, which can provide 20 hours of standby time. There's also a little feature on here that allows you to put the modules to sleep, and they can be woken up remotely with a remote. And if you put modules into sleep, that can make the battery on standby time last up to 3 weeks, supposedly on here. Again, I haven't tested that myself yet, but I can well believe that. And maybe that's something we'll do on another video one day. So the battery is 3.7 volts. You're probably thinking 3.7 volts, that's not a lot of power to fire your igniters. So inside here, there are 1.5 farads of stored capacitance, which in turn provides around 20 volts of firing power and up to 10 amps per channel. So quite impressive from a small little battery. So it's all about the big capacitors inside that provide the actual firing charge. A little bit frustratingly, when I was researching this before I bought it, it said that the USB port on the back could be used to provide additional firing power. My previous WPS system fired at 24 volts, which was great if you're doing talons and stuff. Obviously, E-matches don't need as much power, but talons do need quite a bit. So it was quite exciting to hear that you could actually put an external power bank in here to boost the firing voltage. That option is no longer available, so you're kind of limited to 20 volts, which is absolutely fine for E-matches and a few talons. I have done another video, or I will be doing another video, all about talon support, so keep your eye out for that, where we'll look at that in more depth. But that's the firing power of this 20 volts. On the back, there are instructions for putting this into master control mode and firing a show manually. But now we're going to power this up and I want to show you a little bit more about the display. So let's change to a closer up view. Okay, so let's have a look at the screen. Let's see what we see when we power this on. So we power it on by pushing the button at the back. Shows us the firmware version we're running, and it says int at the top. So it means initialization. And then it goes to this screen, auto set ID. That allows you to address the module. You can have multiple modules connected in a system and address them each individually. So this is set to module 1. You'll see the ID in the top right of the screen here, ID 01. If I had another module, we'd name that 02, 03, and so forth. So when you first power it up, it allows you that option to change the ID of the module, unless there's already a script loaded in. If there's a script loaded into the module, you won't get that option because the module ID will already be set. So, and then we get to this screen here. I'll talk you through this screen. In the top left corner here, this is our wireless connection level. So there's a little bar graph showing you the level. Again, because I haven't got anything else connected into this network at the moment, it's not going to show me anything. But the numbers you can see there say 94, 91, 93. So that number is displaying the noise level on the wireless channel, the 868 megahertz channel. So the higher that number is, the better. As long as it's higher than 80 with the antenna connected, it should be good to go. Anything less than 70 might be a bit of a problem. One little niggle on this, it only shows 2 digits. So if the noise level on that channel goes above 99, i.e. 128, this will just show 12. It will truncate the 8 off, which is a little bit frustrating. And as long as you're aware of that, that's okay. It doesn't mean the signal level, the noise level is 12, it means 128. You'll see it's flashing as well between the number and EK. E relates to the 2.4 gigahertz wireless module, which I don't actually have on this mod. And the K relates to the 868 megahertz channel. So it's a bit annoying that it shows both of those because, to say, I don't have the 2.4 G option on this one. I would much rather that display just showed me the level rather than flashing between the level and EK. I'm not quite sure again why E stands for the 2.4 gigahertz and the K stands for the 868 megahertz. I don't know, but that's what that is in the corner, in the top left corner. Next to that we have an indicator for the 2-wire status. Again, I don't have the 2-wire option on this module, so it's kind of a bit redundant, that icon here. The next one is the battery level of this module. The next one is the firing voltage, the current firing voltage. So at the moment it shows 9.7, so that's 9.7 volts. They are 10.3. You'll think, oh, that's quite low. That's very low for firing. Yes, it is, because at the moment I've not armed this module. As soon as you arm the module, that will go up to like 19, 20 volts. But when it's not in an armed state, it just kind of hovers around the 7, 8, 9, 10 volts. If you've not used this module for a while and you turn it back on, initially you might see an error for the voltage and like a very, very low voltage, like 0.11 volt. That will, after a few seconds, increase up to 7, 8, 9, 10 volts. And then to the right, again, we've got the ID of the module. So 01I, and the I means it's in independent mode at the moment. So there's different modes this module can be in. It can be in master mode, in which case this final letter would be an M. It can be in slave mode, in which case the final letter would be, yep, you guessed it, S. Or in independent mode, which is what it's in at the moment. And that means it's waiting for a connection to the remote. You'll see after a while, if you don't press any buttons, it goes into standby mode. So further extending the battery life on here, you can come out of that just by pressing one of the buttons, and we come back into that. So next line, it says safe mode, tests okay. So it's currently in safe mode, it's not in firing mode. And then down here, R1, R2, R3, R4 are the 4 rail outputs on the bottom of here. At the moment, it's saying no rail detected. If you put this entire module into Talon mode, which I mentioned earlier, instead of saying R1, R2, R3 and R4, these will change to T1, T2, T3 and T4 so that you know you're in Talon mode. At the moment though, no rail detected because I have nothing connected. Let me get a rail and we'll plug it in. So I'm going to plug a rail into R1 and you'll see instantly R1 changed to no igniters. So it's detected that there's a rail, but there's no igniters connected to it at the moment. So this is all in real time, or near real time, within a second or so. So if I unplug this rail again now, you'll see within a second, it's gone back to no rail detected. If I plug this into R2, there we go, no igniters. So let's plug some igniters into the rail, or an igniter. I'm going to plug it into channel 1. So let me just get my igniter. So here's my actual rail. You can probably see the lights blinking along. So this shows there's nothing connected to those channels. There's lights blink along. They blink really fast. You probably can't see them on the refresh rate on the camera, but they are kind of sequencing along all these numbers. So I plug an E-match into the first channel on here. So here's channel 1. Try and get it so you can still see the screen as well. If I plug the wires in here and do that down, you'll see this has now changed. So we've got a solid square there to indicate that we've got an E-match, an igniter on channel 1, and then we've got 15 zeros to indicate there's nothing connected on the other 15. Usefully, there is a key here to show you the different states they can be. So if it's a star on a channel, you've got a bad connection. If it's a box but not a filled box, you have a good connection as opposed to a very good connection. Once you start getting into scripts, there's other things you can see on here, like V means a channel is programmed but nothing's actually connected, there's no igniter connected. Or you can get a question mark, which means something's connected but it's not in your program, in your script. Or you can get an X to say it's been locked out from fire, which we'll cover in another video. So what do the backwards and forwards buttons do on this module, you're probably thinking? Well, they do a few things. If I get a little memory stick with a script on, they have to be a maximum of 32 gigabytes and FAT32. Anything bigger or formatted differently won't recognize it. So 32 gig, FAT32. You can plug it into the USB port on the back, like that. And then you can push and hold the back button and it will say, please insert a USB stick, configuration updated. Press any button. It'll ask you how will module be set. So do you want to set the module automatically or manually? If you do it automatically, this is really good. If you've got to load a script onto lots of different modules via USB, you can do it by the controller, which is a lot easier. But if you want to do it individual module at a time, you can set auto ID. And so what will happen when I set this module, it will save a little number onto this memory stick. So when I put it into the next module and load that, it will increment that ID to the next one. So if you do them in order, it will automatically set all your IDs. So I'm going to set this manually, which is green. There we go. I want to set this to module 1. So I can either increment it, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the blue, or set with the green. You can see it's currently 1. If I wanted to set it to 2, I'd press ink and set. Annoyingly, there's not a way to go back to the start. There's not a way to decrement, so you can only increment. So if you go past the module number that you want to set, you've got to power it off and start again, which is a bit frustrating. But I want this to be module 1, so we'll go confirm, set. There we go. Script name is the name of the script I've got on here. It's uploaded it, and it's told me there's a total of 64 events in my script, 64 pyrotechnic events and 0 DMX events. Now, one thing to note is that your script file, and we will cover the scripting in another video, the script file on your stick has to be called script.csv. So it needs to be a CSV file, and it has to be called script.csv. Frustratingly, it doesn't allow you to support multiple scripts on the same stick. So it would be really nice if there's a little kind of file explorer and you could just put your stick in and select which show you want to load. But no, it will only recognize a show called script.csv. So anyway, that's now uploading my script. You can see script uploaded. I can now remove the USB drive like that. The module will reset and you will see now no rail detected. So let's plug my rail in with a single igniter on channel 1. You'll see it showing me good continuity on that, but it's showing V for the others, which means they're all programmed into my script, but I haven't actually connected any igniters yet. So I really like this real-time monitoring. It makes life so much easier when setting up. You can also monitor this on the remote. We'll cover that in a separate video. So if I wanted to fire that show that I've just loaded in, just using the module itself, it's a little bit tricky. You have to put the module into master mode. So to do that, you need to power it off. So we'll push and hold the power button. And you need to power it on whilst pressing forward. And you'll see now in the corner of the screen, it's now changed, the I's changed to an M. So this is now in master mode. If I want to then fire this, I can follow the instructions on the back. So let me just show you those. Here we go. So I can press forward for 10 seconds, it will put it into armed. Press forward again, it will play. Press back or forward, it will pause. And we can go back to the start that way. So I push and hold forward for 10 seconds and it's going to beep at me and put it in arm mode. You can see arming in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's now armed. And then I can play my show just by pressing forward. I'm just going to remove my ignite because I don't want this to ignite in my face. So there we go. Right, let's go forward. And it's now playing. And it'll beep each time something fires on this module. You'll see there's a duration here. So this has been the elapsed time. So it's been playing for 17, 18, 19 seconds now. We'll just wait for this to beep again, something on this module. You can turn the beep off, which is a nice feature. I'd like it if you could kind of have the beep separate to the arming beep. At the moment, you can either disable the beep entirely, or you have it on when it goes into arm mode and when it fires. I'd love it so it would beep at you when you go into arming, but then not actually beep whilst it's firing individual channels. And then you can hear it beeping again. Why is that such a long beep? That's because that channel's firing in talon mode, which is a 2-second pulse. If you're firing something in an E-match mode, the beep will be a lot shorter. So to pause, we press forward and you'll see it's paused. I can then press this again to resume firing my show. I can come out by pressing back twice and we go back into test mode. So whilst I'm in test mode, I can just single press the forward button and actually view and scroll through my script for this module. So here I can see my script name, which is the name I've set in my script file. Here, rail 1, channel 1. This will show me at the time at which that channel fires. That's actually minutes, seconds, milliseconds. S is the sequence number. We'll cover that in another video, but basically your main show, everything is going to be sequence 0. This shows me the current queue state. So at the moment, nothing's plugged in to that channel. So it's showing me V, which means it's programmed, but it's not connected. If I connect my E-match up to that channel, that V will change to, there we go, a solid, very good connection. It then also shows me here, which is really useful, the current resistance on that channel and the amount of current that it estimates it will take to fire that channel. Below that as well, it's showing the name that I've given it on my script for this particular channel. So this is a red traffic cone fountain. And I can scroll through my other channels on this rail. So 16 channels on the rail. And then rail 2, and I can scroll through all those and it will show me here again the firing time for each and the current status as well. So I can come out of that by pressing backwards and going back through. Fortunately, there's no way to quickly exit it. So if we get back to rail 1, channel 1, then we can go back to that. The other thing you can use the backwards button for, if you press it once, it will invert the screen. So the screen then goes upside down. This is useful if you've got the module attached to a pole or something like that and you want to have it inverted. So you can easily flip the screen and you can flip it back again by pressing BWD. Final thing the BWB button is for loading configuration files or firmware updates via a USB stick. And we'll cover those things in other videos. So that's a quick overview of the FireTEK FTQ-16x64 channel module. I will be doing some more videos more in depth on the scripting and the configuration of these. But for now, if you've enjoyed that and you're interested in finding out more about FireTEK, why not check out some more of my FireTEK videos on my channel. Thanks for watching.